Welcome to the Marketing Millennials, the No BS Marketing Podcast. I'm Daniel Murray, and join me for unfiltered conversations with the brains behind marketing's coolest companies. The one request I tell our guests, stories or it didn't happen. Get ready to turn the up. Welcome back to another episode of the Marketing Millennials. Today I'm solo and I'm going to chat about some writing tips and tricks I learned from writing the Marketing Millennials and growing social media. And I'm just going to give you some tactical tips that you can take and use today. A lot of writing out there from brands. You've seen it. It's boring. It's over-explained. It's stuff with fluff that nobody asked for. If you ever spend time on LinkedIn, Twitter, or honestly just reading emails, you know what I mean. It's full of robotic corporate speak that makes you just want to tap out immediately. So I'm going to break down 6 simple tactical ways to write in a way that actually gets read, shared, and remembered. Number 1 tip is start with a hook that grabs attention. Most people decide if they're going to keep reading in the first 2 seconds. If your first sentence is weak, you've already lost. Here's the rule. Make it impossible to ignore. So you could say something bold like, nobody is reading your emails. Here's why. Or call out a mistake. Most people write like this. They shouldn't. Or be relatable. If you ever open an email and immediately regretted it, look at your last email, social post, article you wrote. Does the first sentence make you stop and think? If not, rewrite it. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is cut the fluff. Write like you talk. Nobody talks like a college essay. So why are you writing like one? Here's the before. In today's fast-paced world, communication is essential. Here's the after to this. If you can't write clearly, nobody will listen. See the difference? Your writing should feel like a conversation, not a lecture. So here's something you could do today is when you're writing, read what you're writing out loud. If it sounds awkward or robotic, rewrite it. Another tip you can also do here is open a Google Doc or notes and just talk to text what you're going to say. It usually comes out better that way, and then you can edit it down. Tip number 3, make a format for skimmability. People skim. If your writing looks like a giant wall of text, they're out. They're gone. So break it up. Use short sentences. Use white space to your advantage. Bold the key points. Make your writing easy to read. And here's something to think about. Take a paragraph from something you wrote. Break it into shorter, skimmable sentences. Watch how much easier it is to read that. Another tip to help whatever you're writing is having a strong opinion. Nobody shares lukewarm content. Say something that makes people react. Instead of saying AI is changing communication, you could say something like, AI won't replace writers, but the lazy ones, maybe. What I would do is take a topic you really care about or your audience really cares about, and now turn up the heat on that take. Have a stronger opinion. People want a stronger opinion. To have raving fans of your content, you're going to have haters. Tip number 5, make it feel human. This should be easy, but sometimes we mess this up. I do it sometimes. I know a lot of brands out there don't make it feel like a human. The best writing makes the reader feel seen. For example, we've all stared at a blank page thinking, I have nothing to say. Or your boss doesn't need another 5-paragraph email. Get to the point. If people see themselves in your writing, they will keep reading. So before you publish something, ask, does this feel like a real person wrote it? Especially in the age of AI. Does this feel like a real person wrote it? If not, just loosen it up a little bit. Read it out loud. Write like you talk. And last thing you could do is End with a conversation starter. Don't just say something, invite engagement. Like, what's the worst writing advice you've ever seen? Or what's the last sentence that made you stop and pay attention? Give people a reason to respond. And especially your first email in a series or a newsletter, you want people to respond to that because it improves deliverability in your email. So encourage engagement. Even on social, encourage engagement. Social media is supposed to be social. So encourage it. So your next post email, end with a question and see what happens. Those are my 6 tips. If your writing sounds like a textbook, please delete it. Make it punchy, make it fun, make it something people want to read. Try these 6 tips that I gave you today and DM me if you use them. I want receipts, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye. Thanks so much for listening. Keep tuning in to hear more great insights from the coolest marketers from around the world. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and follow the Marketing Millennials podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you like what you hear, I would greatly appreciate you giving us a 5-star rating. It helps bring more marketers into our community.